There's a lot of talk about AI and fear. I want to start with government regulations. Do you guys think that government should regulate how fast AI is being exploited? And a deeper thought into that, if it does and it limits the way that companies in the US grow AI and China, for example, doesn't, does this create a world-shifting impact? So, two-part question.
Yeah, sure. Well, so, I mean, it's a really complicated question. There's an argument to be made, right, that if you regulate it, it's not going to stop the worst actors in the world from doing it anyway. And I don't know if that argument is correct. It is a pretty strong argument, I think. Like Elon Musk, for example, is pushing hard to get the US to regulate it, and there's a good chance that the US does. China is already sort of poised potentially to overtake us with regards to developments in AI. I think the argument is probably correct that regulations aren't going to do anything. It's really hard to say. I think most likely that you can maybe slow it down a little bit. When AI is developed, artificial general intelligence or strong AI, which is AI that basically is human level intelligence or greater, and also when it gets to human level of intelligence, it's not going to be just human level of intelligence. It will basically immediately be superhuman level intelligence, because by the time it gets to be human level intelligence, it'll be already like basically a human like you, except it will be better than the world's best chess player at chess and better than the world's best Go player at Go. I guess I think the best thing to do is probably to invest very, very heavily in the research that needs to be done in order to figure out how to cause AI, when it comes to be developed in such a way as to not make all known matter in the universe turn into paper clips accidentally.
Joe, what do you think?
So I'm always a contrarian when it comes to talking about AI, because I think that we actually talk about iRobot as AI. Anybody ever see iRobot? Yeah. Right, that's not AI, it doesn't exist right now. Right now we try to solve singular problems with artificial intelligence. In other words, if we want to build something, we build AI to solve that specific problem, right? And the problem with AI, and this is going to be I'm going to elongate this answer a little bit, but AI is designed with some sort of limit, right? So AI is built by computers. Those computers have chips. Those chips have the ability to create a boundary, right? So that every one of those chips has the ability to store a certain amount of information. It has a certain amount of capacity. Well, what if I told you that your brain only has, right now you're actually using about 15% of your brain, so you have 85% capacity that is actually unlimited. Right? So you're only using 15% of your brain. They said 5%. That was bullshit. It's actually, sorry, it's only 15%. So you're actually using 10% than what they told you were using before. And the reality of it is that the limits of the human brain are actually unlimited because you've never actually hit capacity. Right? But in AI, we've hit capacity. So every time we solve a problem, we're solving it up against a limit to that particular computer chip. And so they talk about the fact that they've actually built 500 computer chips on top of each other, and it actually has unlimited capacity, and it exceeds the actual limits of the human brain, although the human brain doesn't have a limit. Right? So we're afraid of the boogeyman that exists in AI, but in AI it really hasn't exceeded anything that it should have over the last 20 to 30 years. Now if we back up to 1900, the combustible engine, and creating the first automobile that none of us would want to drive on the road with, right? And we look at what we have today, Tesla, which is a really cool car. I have one. It's fun. The limits that we were able to exceed with that actually pushed us past limits that we thought were even possible 100 years ago. And so I look at AI from the standpoint of it's not really a risk of what's happening in the marketplace. The government can't regulate it, because if we regulate it here in the US, we're in a global market. So now we have to work with China and other things that are happening in Europe, which is the boogeyman. If we want to talk about the boogeyman, what's happening in Europe is the boogeyman. We don't want anybody to have access to my data, my personal identifiable information, because God forbid you're going to use that against me, right? And the reality of it is none of that data has the ability to be used against you anyway. They just created this false narrative. So when we talk about AI specific to what it's able to do today and whether it should be regulated, if we regulate what we do here in the US, there's a pretty big chance that somewhere else in some other area that it's going to be unregulated and unchecked, which means we in the US are going to fall behind like we've fallen behind in so many other different areas. Right? So no, it shouldn't be regulated. But on the other side, we should be looking at ways that we can enhance what we do on the ML side and kind of ignore what's happening on the AI, not ignore it from the standpoint of innovation, but ignore it in such a way that we're not afraid of what that AI can bring us as far as giving us better solutions as people.